Hello, it's Lucie at Commit to Self. Has this ever happened to you? You've been working out, you've been doing everything perfectly, you've been eating right, following your meal plan, counting your calories, and then it's time to get on the scale. And you get on the scale and you see that the weight has not changed since the last time you got on the scale. What do you think would go through your mind if that would happen? I've actually asked this question to several of my clients, and the answers range from, I'm a failure, this darn plan doesn't work, I quit, I'm a loser, I'll never be able to have success in weight loss, and so on. And if those thoughts enter your mind, usually the next step is you give up and you quit. That happens so frequently, which is why losing weight is often very difficult, because we get frustrated if it's going slower than we want it to go. But the feedback that we give ourselves, the thinking that goes on, can really impact our success or not. What I'm talking about here is destructive thinking, negative thinking, thinking that puts us on a path that goes in the direction that we didn't initially want it to go. Whether or not you're aware of it, we all have a set of rules and a set of values that we live our life by. These rules and values we've been taught early on, and we're not usually aware that they are in our minds, yet they impact how we interpret events of our life. And what I'd like you to start becoming aware of is this thinking that I'm labeling automatic thinking. This thinking tends to be negative. It's based on things that might have happened in the past. And it's time to realize, hey, this is my old pattern and style of thinking. This is records or DVDs or anything that you want to label that is playing around and around in your head that needs to be taken out and reinserted with something that's a little bit more appropriate to the present day. The thinking that I'd like each one of you to start becoming aware of is how that automatic thinking, the little voice in our head, how it impacts what you do. Time to slow down. If you find yourself having a negative thought such as, I'm a failure, I can't do this, part of the challenge is to not only identify the negative thinking, but start challenging it. How do you challenge a thought? Very easy. There's a real step-by-step way to do it. You have the negative thought, I'm a failure. You want to take a backward step and say, whoa, what just happened that led me to think that way? And identify what just happened. Then you want to be aware of what that thought does to you, emotionally, physically. Is it helping you go forward, or is it stopping you, literally stopping you in place, and often going backwards, taking some backward steps, which certainly isn't helping you go forward. Once you can acknowledge where that thought stemmed from and what it does to you, if it's negative, if it gets you in the direction you don't want to go, that's where we have to challenge it. So if you're having that thought, I'm a failure, not necessarily true. How can you prove that that thought is valid? When I work with my clients and then we go through this cycle of challenging the negative thinking, I start saying to them, okay, you're a failure. What have you done in your life that proves you're a failure? You're successful in your career, you have friends, you have family, people love you, you do very well in other aspects of your life. The challenging one is just this one aspect, losing weight. So you may say, I'm struggling, but you're not a failure. Your whole life does not prove that you're a failure. And that's one way to start challenging that thinking. Some of you might have heard of the all or nothing thinking, black and white, not living in the gray area. Most of these automatic thoughts tend to be very all or nothing. I'm a failure. I'll never be able to succeed. I can't go to a gym. Everyone's going to stare at me. If you think about it, those thoughts are extreme, and that's where the all or nothing comes into play. An example that I hear a lot from my clients is, I can't go to the gym. Everyone's going to stare at me. Think about that. How would that look in real life? You'd walk in the gym. Everyone would literally stop what they're doing, turn around, and focus on you. Really. Do you think that's going to happen? I come from a gym background, as some of you may know. Trust me, most people working out at the gym are focused on themselves, often very unaware who's around them. So if you realize that and think, okay, maybe a couple people might stop and look at you because you're new to the gym. Many times we look at people without even seeing them. But that thought of everyone's going to stare at me often leads to people being afraid to follow through. Automatic thinking can be very detrimental. Part of the only way to be able to go forward in your lifestyle change is start being aware of how you're interpreting events in your life, what those little voices are saying to you, how to challenge the negative thoughts so they don't take you in a direction that's going to sabotage what you're trying to do. So destructive thinking happens. Often it's learned. Often we're placing things that we've heard from when we were children, placing it on ourselves in the present day. Those areas are very, very behaviorally oriented, and that's where I come into play, to help identify your pattern of thinking, to help you challenge that pattern of thinking and insert new, healthier ways to interpret what's going on in your world. It's a very, very big area that needs to be examined. And one of the only ways to be successful with moving forward is to start getting to know yourself a little bit better, because it's coming from the inside out. It's not just what you eat and how you exercise. It's how you're responding to your world. Again, as I've said before, if you have any questions or want to discuss this more, please contact me at Lucie at Commit to Self. Thank you very much and have a great day. Turn it off.